Hey everyone, Carlo here with AYCB. Today I'm going to teach you how to play Nova Luna, which is a 1 to 4 player abstract tile laying game from Uwe Rosenberg. He designed it based off of an idea from Corne van Moorsel, who's credited as the co-designer, and this was actually just recently nominated for the Spiel des Jahres award. In Nova Luna, you'll be collecting tiles from the moon wheel and placing them in your own area. Every tile has goals on them, which you're trying to complete by placing other surrounding tiles. This is not a game with points, it's actually a race to be the first person to complete all 20 of your goals, which would win you the game. Let me show you how to play. So I've set up for a 2-player game here. This here is the moon wheel, where you'll place the marker in the top spot above this gold section with this new moon icon. Then you fill the 11 other spots with random tiles. Keep the rest of the shuffled tiles face down nearby. Then each player chooses a color and takes the 21 discs of that color, puts one of their discs on the new moon space, and holds on to the rest. Then just determine the player order and you're ready to go. So before we get into the actual rules, I just want to go over what's on these tiles just so you know what you're actually looking at here. So each tile in the game has 3 elements to it. The first element is the color of the tile. They can either be blue, red, turquoise, or yellow. The second element is the time cost, represented by the number here, which can range from 1 to 7. The third element is the goals, which look like this. Each tile will have anywhere from 0 to 3 goals, which you can achieve by placing tiles with those specified colors, either directly adjacent to the tile with the goals, or by using chains. We'll go over the goals and how to complete them in more detail a bit later, but this is enough to get started with turn structure and how the game actually works. It is always the turn of the player furthest back on the moon wheel. If 2 players share the same space, it's the turn of the player whose disc is on top of the stack. On your turn, all you do is start by picking one of the 3 tiles in clockwise order from the marker, replacing that tile with the marker. So for example, let's say you take this tile here. Then you'd advance your player disc a number of spaces on the moon wheel equal to that number, also known as the time cost, on the tile. Once you've done that, you'll place your tile. Since this is the first turn, there are no real placement rules yet, so I'll just keep this here until I get more tiles. If I had completed any goals by placing my tile, I would cover those goals with my goal discs to note which ones I had, and then my turn would be over. Since I didn't complete any tiles, that's it, and it goes on to the next player who is furthest back on the moon wheel. So on the next player's turn, let's say they take this red 1 tile. The marker replaces that spot, that player moves their disc up 1 space, and then they place their tile. Remember, it's always the turn of the player furthest back on the moon wheel, so this player would get another turn. Let's say they then take this tile here, the yellow 5. They can now place this tile anywhere adjacent to any previous tile they have. So for now, this player would be able to put this here, 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 or here. Then, because of this tile being placed here, this goal would be completed, and that player would cover up the goal with one of their 20 player discs. Spaces will stay empty for some time, so remember to ignore those empty spaces for your choice of your 3 tiles on your turn. Turns would continue this way until the game ends when any player completes their 20th and final goal. The only other thing you really need to know about turn structure is at the beginning of your turn, before you do anything else, if ever the moon wheel has fewer than 2 tiles left, so either 0 or 1, you may replenish it fully with random tiles from the supply if you'd like. Of course, when it's down to 0, you have to start your turn by replenishing it because you always have to take and place a tile on your turn. In other words, you shall not pass! Anyway, the last thing to go over is just a bit more about the tile placement and how you can achieve your goals. So as I mentioned before, you can complete a goal simply by placing a tile next to it of that color. So for example, by placing this here, I'd be completing this goal on the number 5 that says I need 1 teal tile adjacent to it. Let's say at the start of my turn this was my setup and I actually just had these 3 teal tiles. When I place this blue one into play somewhere adjacent here, I'm actually completing both of those goals because not only is this adjacent to 1, but it's also adjacent to 3. So this means that you can use the same tile twice or more than once to meet another goal. So as soon as I would place this, I'd be meeting both of those goals. Another thing to note is they don't all have to be connected, the teal ones themselves. If this needs to be adjacent to 3 teal tiles, I can do something like this and put it on the other side. So not only can it be adjacent, but this is something called a chain, and as long as it is connected, it contributes to the goal's requirement. It's important to note that if a goal requires tiles of that color, for example in this number 2 we have a teal one that requires teal tiles, the tile itself does not contribute to this, so this would not count towards these 4 teal tiles that need to be around it. Some goals will mix more than one color for the same goal. For example, this 4 teal tile has a goal that requires 1 blue and 1 yellow. It's important to note that chains can't happen with 2 different colors, so this would not be meeting the requirement of the goal. If it was 2 blues, you could chain 2 blues together, but in order to meet this one with the blue and the yellow, you would need 1 on each side of this tile. So as I said, the first player to place all 20 of their goal discs wins, but there's one other way the game can end. If the moon wheel itself is empty and the supply is empty of tiles, and a player cannot draw a tile or place a tile on their turn, the game will end immediately. In that case, the player with the fewest remaining goal discs in their supply will win. In other words, whoever has completed the most goals. If that's tied, then the player who would have been next in turn order, in this case the player who missed their turn by not being able to take a tile, would be the one who wins. And that's it, that's how you play. If this looks interesting to you, keep an eye out for my video review, which will be up next week on our YouTube channel, as well as my written review, which will be on our website at allyoucanboard.com. Thank you so much for all your continued support. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. Feel free to follow us on any of our social media platforms, and feel free to leave a comment below. We're always looking to engage with the community, and we'll respond as soon as we can. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time.